You're useless, you almost hurt them. Get out of here right now. A widowed millionaire suspected something wasn't right. That's why he decided to hide and silently observe how his girlfriend treated his triplets. What he discovered left him breathless, and only a waitress would be able to reveal the whole truth. The night was a beast of wind and water beating down without mercy. The large windows of the Skyview Manor vibrated with fury. Over the hills of Beverly Hills, the sky was stained a sickly purple. Each flash of lightning revealed the silhouettes of palm trees twisting in the garden like ghosts trapped in a dance. Inside the vast residence, an oppressive and dense silence reigned, a silence that smelled of expensive flowers and a fear that Maya Rodriguez still couldn't name. Maya felt the red uniform of the Remembrance Cafe stuck to her body like a second skin. The rain had baptized her from the moment she got off the bus. Icy water seeped through the worn soles of her sneakers. A 2.5-hour journey from the heart of East LA, changing buses at a crowded transit center, a sea of people packed together. Women with grocery bags, workers with exhaustion in their eyes, all to deliver a corporate dinner that would earn her $50. That extra money was vital, almost a matter of life or death. Her mother, Elena, needed it for the month's medications. Diabetes didn't wait for the paycheck to arrive. It devoured her health. "Here's everything," Maya murmured to the head chef, a man with a serious mustache and an impatient gaze who received her. He barely thanked her, his gesture a pure formality. "Can you sign the receipt, please?" she asked in a quiet voice. The man scribbled something unintelligible on the damp paper. He didn't even look her in the eye. To him, she was invisible. Maya tucked the wet receipt into her apron pocket. She turned around, ready to begin the long journey back. She had to run if she wanted to catch the last bus on Sunset, the one that passed at 11, and was her only way home. Missing it meant paying for a taxi her budget couldn't handle. She was about to cross the threshold of the service door, but then a sharp sound stopped her in her tracks, freezing her blood. It wasn't one cry. It was 3 distinct, overlapping, desperate, choked cries, as if 3 tiny creatures were struggling to breathe. The sound came from the floor above, from the mansion's core. It pierced her chest like an ice knife, paralyzing her. An echo of an old pain she knew all too well. Maya stood motionless in the service hallway, under the pale light. Her hands, which minutes before smelled of coffee and pastries, were trembling. She knew that kind of crying. It was the sound of true need. It was the same lament she had heard that dawn 7 years ago when her little sister Ariana turned purple on their shared mattress. The ambulance never arrived in time to the crowded inner city streets. That cry that screams, "I'm dying and nobody hears me." "What are you still doing here?" The chef's harsh voice startled her. "We already paid you. Get out, you're in the way," he yelled from the kitchen. Maya didn't answer. She couldn't. The crying was a magnet. Ignoring the order, disobeying logic, her feet moved. She went up the marble stairs without permission, almost without breathing. She stepped carefully. Her worn-out sneakers made no noise. The lament grew louder and louder with each step she climbed. Upon reaching the second floor, a carpeted hallway opened before her. All was silent, except for the crying coming from a door. It was ajar. A sliver of yellow light spilled out. She peeked in her heart, in her throat, expecting to see an emergency. What she saw left her breathless. A scene of cruel indifference. 3 identical expensive white wooden cribs occupied the center, and in each one a baby writhed with a red face. Their little bodies wriggled like worms under the blankets, their mouths open in a scream that had almost no strength left. The air was thick with their anguish, their plea, and next to them, sitting in a gray velvet armchair, was a woman. She was the most elegant woman Maya had ever seen. A cream-colored silk dress clung to her perfect figure. Her brown hair was pulled back in a flawless bun, without a single hair out of place. The woman's long, pale pink nails held a phone, but her beautiful face was contorted with annoyance. "Just shut up already," the woman whispered, her voice a venomous hiss. "Don't you get tired of screaming? You sound like rabid monkeys." She squeezed one of the baby's little arms harder than necessary. The little one let out a shriek of pain that mingled with his cries. Maya felt her blood boil. A righteous rage grew in her chest, but she wasn't the only one observing this terrible scene. From the shadows of the hallway, Maya caught a glimpse of something else. A tall man in a dark suit was hidden watching everything from another doorway without saying a word. His face was buried in his hands. His shoulders shook. He seemed to be crying silently, or perhaps praying defeated. But he did nothing, didn't intervene, just watched. Maya couldn't bear it. The memory of Ariana was too strong. She didn't think twice. Prudence abandoned her completely. She knocked on the door with her knuckles, a soft but firm sound. "Excuse me," she said in a small, trembling but determined voice. "I heard the children. Can I help with anything?" The elegant woman turned as if struck by lightning. Her cold eyes scanned Maya from top to bottom with contempt, lingering on the dirty sneakers, the rain-soaked uniform, the trembling hands, and the ungracefully tied hair. A frosty, almost cruel smile appeared on her red lips. "And who the hell are you?" "The help," she asked haughtily. "I'm from the food delivery, ma'am. From the Remembrance Cafe," Maya replied. "Sorry, I didn't mean to interfere, but the babies—" The woman cut her off, jumping to her feet. She smoothed down her silk dress, a fabric worth more than Maya's salary. "They're just being fussy. That's how little kids are, right?" Her voice was falsely sweet, like a candy filled with poison. "They cry about everything. There's no cure. They'll get tired eventually." But Maya knew those babies were not okay. It wasn't a tantrum. She felt it in her bones, in her stolen maternal instinct. The one on the left had a forehead drenched in a cold sweat. The baby in the middle wouldn't stop waving his little hands, asking for help. And the one on the right, the smallest, was barely crying anymore, just gasping in small, soul-crushing spasms. Can I try?" Maya asked, not knowing where she found the courage. "Sometimes babies just need to be held differently. Sometimes they just feel cold or lonely," she murmured to herself. The woman let out a dry laugh, a metallic, unpleasant sound. "Sure, sweetie, whatever you want," she said, opening her arms sarcastically. "If you, the delivery girl, can achieve what the nurses and the nanny couldn't, I'll congratulate you. Go on then, coffee girl, show me your magic." There was pure venom in every syllable, a deep-seated class contempt. But Maya didn't care about the humiliation. She only cared about the babies. She approached the cribs, wiping her damp hands on her apron. She lifted the first baby with infinite delicacy, supporting his tiny head. He was so small, so fragile, his skin soft and warm. He reminded her so much of Ariana that she had to close her eyes for a moment. Not again, she thought with fierce determination. "I won't let it happen again." She settled the baby against her chest, feeling his accelerated heartbeat. Then in a quick, learned movement, she improvised, making a sling with her own apron and tucking the second baby in, snug against her, feeling the warmth of her body. She held the third firmly in her other arm, all three against her body, listening to the calm rhythm of her heart, feeling the warmth they lacked in that cold, luxurious room. And then Maya began to sing, her voice barely a whisper. It was a lullaby her mother used to sing to her when they were poor, when there was no light in their small apartment, and they all slept together. an invented song that spoke of the moon watching over lost children. Maya hummed softly, rocking with a slow, ancient rhythm. She breathed deeply, trying to transmit calm to the little ones. She wanted them to feel her breath, to know they weren't alone. And slowly, as if a miracle were happening in that room, the desperate cries faded one by one. First, the baby she held in her arms stopped crying. He clung to the damp fabric of her shirt with his tiny fingers. Then the second one, cradled in the improvised apron sling, began to nod off. His swollen little eyes finally closed. The third let out a deep sigh, a long, trembling sound. He finally stilled, his little body relaxed against Maya's arm. In less than 5 minutes, the 3 triplets were fast asleep. A peaceful, almost sacred silence filled the luxurious room. All that could be heard was the rain hitting the glass and the children's breathing. The woman in the silk dress was frozen, her mouth slightly open. The mocking smile she wore shattered. Her face was pure disbelief. She couldn't understand what she had just witnessed. "How?" she started to say, but her voice broke. Meanwhile, in the hallway, David Belmont felt something break inside him. The man watching in silence, the father of the creatures, felt his heart, dormant with grief, begin to beat with pain again. He had just seen his fiancée, Ashley Vance, the perfect woman everyone said was ideal for him, and his position, lose her patience with his children in a matter of minutes, treating them with a coldness that chilled his bones, calling them monkeys. And then he had seen a complete stranger, a drenched girl who smelled of coffee and rain, achieve the impossible with pure instinct, with a selfless love he hadn't seen in months. David had been testing Ashley for weeks without her knowing. He was terrified. He felt something wasn't right in their relationship. He would leave notes with fake medication schedules to see if she followed them. He watched the security cameras in the hallway, though he hated doing it. He listened to how she spoke to the babies when she thought no one was watching. And it was always the same impatience, annoyance distance. Something died in Ashley's eyes when she was with Leo, Max, and Sam. Ashley smiled perfectly at business dinners. She knew all the important people knew exactly what to say. She was the perfect facade for the widowed millionaire David Belmont. But with his children, the children of the woman he had loved, she was a complete disaster, a stranger in her own home. And now this girl Maya had come in and disarmed all his fear. She had shown that the babies weren't fussy. They just needed love. David closed his eyes and clenched his fists tightly. Rage and guilt battled within him, a silent war. He didn't have the courage to enter the room. Not yet. What would he say to Ashley? What would he say to that girl? He stayed in the shadows, a coward in his own mansion. Meanwhile, Ashley regained her composure and her mask of coldness. "Wow, what a talent, huh?" she clapped slowly, the sound full of sarcasm. "Who would have thought you turned out to be a baby whisperer?" Maya didn't answer. She didn't want to break the peace that had cost so much to achieve. She continued rocking the children, feeling them relax against her, how they blindly trusted her warmth, her presence. One of them, the one in the middle, opened his little eyes and looked directly at her. It was a deep, ancient look, without tears. And Maya swore that in those dark little eyes there was a tiny "thank you, don't go." "Hey," Ashley said suddenly, crossing her arms over her dress. Her tone was no longer mocking. Now it was calculating, cold. "I asked you your name. Answer me when I speak to you." "Maya Rodriguez," she repeated without looking away from the baby. "Maya, Ashley repeated, as if testing the name on her tongue. Well, it's a good thing you showed up, Maya, because you see I have a problem. She paced the room, her expensive heels making no sound. Turns out I'm looking for someone to help me with these… She paused, searching for the word, with these brats. At night, the professional nurses can't handle it. They say it's too much work. The live-in nanny complains about everything that her back hurts. But you seem to have a special touch with them, don't you? The question hung in the air, loaded with a hidden intention. Maya finally looked at her, confused, not understanding where the conversation was going. Are you offering me a job, ma'am? She asked cautiously. Something temporary, dear. Don't get excited. Ashley clarified, smiling again. Just until we find someone more professional with qualifications. But in the meantime, if you come a few nights to help with this… She gestured to the sleeping babies with disdain. I'll pay you well. Much better than at that little coffee shop of yours, I assure you. An extra $200 a night. What do you say? Maya felt her heart race, but it wasn't from excitement. It was a mix of fear and a strange sense of duty. $200 more a night. That was more than a lifesaver. It meant her mother's medication was secured for months. It meant decent food on the table, not just beans and rice. Maybe it would even be enough to fix the leak in the roof. And most importantly, she could stay close to these babies. She could make sure they were okay, that they weren't hurt. She could protect them from this woman with cold eyes and hard hands. The image of the man in the hallway returned to her mind. He hadn't defended them. He was watching, but he didn't act. They were alone in this giant, cold house. I accept, Maya said without much more thought, her voice firm. I accept the job, ma'am. I'll start whenever you say. Perfect, Maya. Ashley smiled, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. It was a smile that promised nothing good, a business smile. You start tomorrow at 8 sharp through the service door, and not a word of this to anyone understood. Maya nodded, though a shiver ran down her spine. Understood, ma'am. She had sealed a pact in that room, but she didn't know with whom. David from the hallway heard the entire conversation. Ashley's proposal surprised him. It was an unexpected move. Hiring the girl who had just unintentionally humiliated her. It was a smart play to keep her close, under control. Or maybe, just maybe, Ashley wanted to learn from her. No, that was too optimistic. He knew Ashley. This was something else, a new game that was just beginning. He decided not to come out, not to reveal himself. He would let things run their course. He needed more proof. He needed to understand what was happening in his house. He let Maya leave, watched her hurry down the stairs, and then entered the baby's room where Ashley was looking at the cribs. What happened? My love, I heard crying, he lied, feigning concern. Ashley turned and smiled at him, the same perfect smile. Nothing, honey, just the kids being kids. But I've already handled it. The alarm clock rang at 5 a.m. A sharp, unbearable beep. Maya knew it by heart. It was the sound of routine. She stretched her hand in the darkness of the room and slapped it off. She tried not to wake her mother, who was sleeping on the other mattress. The small room in East LA barely had space for the 2 beds, an old nightstand, a wobbly chair, and a curtain that divided the space. The noise of stray dogs came through the glassless window. The smell of freshly made tortillas from the house next door wafted in. She got up slowly, fumbling in the gloom to avoid tripping. The power was out again. The company had cut it off. The bill was 2 months overdue, an impossible debt. Maya washed her face with the cold water she kept in a barrel. She tied her hair into a tight ponytail, her battle mode gesture. She put on her clean uniform from the Remembrance Cafe, her armor. In the broken mirror hanging from a nail, she could barely make out her face. But it didn't matter. Today she wasn't going to the cafe. Today, her destination was different. Today, she was returning to the Skyview Manor, the luxurious cage. "You're leaving already, mija?" her mother whispered from the bed, her voice hoarse. "Yeah, Ma. I left your medicine on the table and some beans. I'll be late. Don't wait up." "Be careful, Marita," she said as Maya put on her shoes. "That rich people's house is not for us." Maya pressed her lips together. Her mom always said that. It was her litany. It's not for us, as if there were an invisible wall, a world they weren't allowed to enter, not even through the kitchen. "I'll be fine, Ma. I promise. It's just a job." She left the room before her mom could say anything else. The street was still dark, a dangerous black hole. The taco stands were just firing up their grills, releasing smoke. The tamale man dragged his cart with deflated tires. Maya walked quickly, the house key clutched between her fingers. Dodging puddles from last night's rain, her reflection distorted. A 2.5-hour journey, the bus, the transfer, the long ride to Beverly Hills, where the air smelled different. A trip she made every day, but now she would do it twice. By day at the cafe, by night at the mansion. Her body was already protesting. When she arrived in Beverly Hills, the sun was just peeking over the horizon. The houses were fortresses with high walls and security cameras, gardens that looked like public parks, perfect without a single leaf out of place. The Skyview Manor was the largest, the most imposing. Maya rang the service doorbell as instructed. She waited nervously, wiping the sweat from her hands on her pants. Her heart was pounding. She felt like she was entering enemy territory. An older, plump woman with a floral apron opened the door. Her gaze was tired, but her eyes were kind, observant. "You're the new one, right? The one who's going to help with the children?" "Yes, ma'am. I'm Maya Rodriguez. Nice to meet you," she said. "Well, come on in. I'm Rosa the cook. I've been working here for 15 years. If you need anything, find me. But don't make any noise. Mrs. Ashley hates to be woken up." Maya nodded and entered. The kitchen was gigantic, gleaming. It smelled of freshly brewed coffee and freshly baked pastries. The walls were white, spotless, with shiny wooden cabinets and appliances Maya didn't even know the function of. She felt completely out of place, like a fish out of water, a stain of poverty on a canvas of immaculate wealth. "The children are upstairs," Rosa said, pointing with her chin, "in the room at the end of the hall. I already gave them their milk, but the middle one, Max, didn't want to drink anything. He's been fussy since yesterday. The poor thing won't stop crying." "I'm on my way," Maya said, feeling a pang of concern. She climbed the marble stairs. Her old sneakers squeaked slightly. Each step echoed in the absolute silence of the mansion. Everything was elegant, cold, perfect, lifeless, like a museum. Nothing like her room in East LA, where there was always noise radios on, children playing in the street, the sound of the gas truck. When she opened the door to the baby's room, she saw them. Leo, Max, and Sam were awake in their cribs, restless. They were moving their little arms and legs, but they weren't crying, just waiting. As soon as they saw her enter, all three fell completely silent, as if they recognized her, as if they knew she was safe. Maya felt something warm expand in her chest, a painful tenderness. "Hello, little ones," she whispered, approaching the cribs. "How did you sleep? Are you hungry?" Leo, the biggest, stretched his little arms towards her, asking to be held. Max started making soft noises, as if responding to her. Sam just stared at her with those dark little eyes that seemed to know everything and held the tears of the previous night. The first few nights were exhausting, but strangely beautiful. Maya arrived at 8 sharp. Ashley was never there. She was out to dinner or locked in her room watching television. David, the father, was a ghost. Sometimes she heard his footsteps, but she never saw him. He never came down to the baby's room. Maya took care of everything, holding them, changing diapers, feeding them. She rocked them in the rocking chair by the window until they fell asleep. Sometimes she sang the moon lullaby softly to them. Other times she just watched them sleep, their serene little faces, feeling something she hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. But that strange peace began to be tainted with odd details that didn't add up, small alarms going off in her head. The first was a notebook she found in the nightstand drawer. It had records of the bottle's milliliters times temperature. The handwriting was elegant Ashley's, but the numbers didn't match. Maya clearly remembered writing that Leo drank 120 milliliters at 9. The next day when she checked, someone had crossed out the number. With a different pen, they had written 90 milliliters. She thought maybe she had made a mistake, that she was tired, but it happened again with Max, and then with Sam. Someone was altering the records of what the babies were eating. Then there was Sam's pacifier. Maya found it on the floor next to the crib. She picked it up to wash it as she always did out of instinct, and smelled something strange, a smell that shouldn't have been there. It wasn't sour milk. It wasn't baby saliva. It was something chemical pungent, like a strong medication. She frowned and washed it thoroughly, feeling a growing unease. And then the definitive proof, a small folded note on the nightstand one night in that elegant, delicate handwriting. Maya, if the babies cry a lot at night, use this. These are the drops I left in the bottom drawer. That should do it. It will calm them down. A. Maya felt a chill. She opened the drawer with trembling hands. There it was, a dark glass bottle with no label. The dark glass vial had no name, no registration, nothing. It was filled with a clear, thick liquid, like a syrup. Maya carefully uncapped it, her hands shaking slightly. She brought it to her nose and sniffed, holding her breath. Her stomach turned immediately, a bitter taste in her mouth. She knew that smell. She had smelled it in the public hospital when they took Ariana, that last, desperate time. The nurses would whisper in the hallways, exhausted. They talked about babies being doped so the mothers could rest. A mild sedative, they'd say, to calm the little one's anxiety. But Ariana didn't need sedatives. She needed oxygen. She needed help. No, Maya whispered, putting the bottle back in the drawer. This never. She promised herself, feeling nauseous. Ashley wanted to drug her own children so she wouldn't have to hear them cry. A few days later, she tried to talk to David. She needed to warn him. She found him in the garden, walking alone among the rose bushes. His hands were in his pockets, his gaze lost on the horizon. He looked tired, sad, as if he were carrying the weight of the world. A shadow of the man she had seen in the hallway. Mr. Belmont. Maya called, her voice trembling with nerves. Can I speak with you for a moment? It's about the children. He turned surprised to see her there, outside of her usual hours. Of course, Maya. Is something wrong? Are they okay? His concern was genuine. No. Well, yes, they're fine now. But Maya's words got stuck. How could she accuse his fiancée? I've noticed some strange things, sir. The bottles, the records, and Mrs. Ashley left me some drops to help them sleep. She asked me to give it to them if they cry a lot. David frowned. His face darkened immediately, but not in the way Maya expected. He didn't seem alarmed. Maya, he interrupted her in a soft but firm, distant voice. Ashley only wants what's best for them. She's doing everything she can. It's a stressful situation for everyone. She's under a lot of pressure. You've only been here a week. You might be confused." "I'm not confused, sir," Maya insisted, feeling frustrated. "I know what I saw. Those drops aren't safe. They don't have a label." "Ashley is very careful," he insisted, but he wasn't looking her in the eyes. "They're probably just chamomile drops or something natural. You're tired. You're working double shifts. It's normal to see things. If you need a few days off to rest, just let me know." He was dismissing her kindly, invalidating her. "I don't need days off," Maya said. "I need you to listen to me." David sighed deeply and finally looked her in the eyes. There was something dark in them, something scared, broken, as if he had doubts too, but didn't want to admit them. "Maya, I truly appreciate what you do for my children, really. But Ashley is my fiancée. I'm going to marry her in 2 months. I trust her. Please trust her judgment as well." "And mine," Maya thought bitterly. "I'm just the coffee girl." That night as she rocked the babies, Maya felt a weight on her chest. She knew something was terribly wrong. She felt it in her gut, but no one believed her. No one listened to her. She was invisible. Max started to cry, and Maya picked him up, holding him close to her chest. "It's okay, my love," she whispered in his ear. "I'll take care of you. I won't let anything happen to you. I swear on my sister's memory." Through the window, the city glittered with millions of indifferent lights. It all started with small things, accidents so subtle that at first Maya thought she was exaggerating, that she was paranoid that her mother was right when she said Maya was too distrustful. But small things have a habit of growing quickly, like weeds that refuse to die. They multiply. First was the vase, an expensive crystal one. It was in the dining room on a Persian rug that cost a fortune. One morning, Maya went down to the kitchen to prepare the bottles and found Rosa sweeping up broken glass, very nervous. "What happened, Rosa? Did you drop it?" Maya asked. The woman looked up, her face wrinkled with worry. "I don't know, mija. I got here and it was already like this, shattered. And look right under where you passed to go upstairs. Mrs. Ashley's going to throw a fit." Maya felt a chill run down her spine, a bad feeling. "But I didn't come down last night, Rosa. I stayed upstairs the whole time. Leo woke up crying, and I was with him until dawn." "Well, someone says you did come down," the cook murmured, lowering her voice. "Mrs. Ashley told Mr. David she saw you. Says she saw you walking around here about 11 o'clock at night." "That's a lie," Maya said. "It wasn't me." Rosa just shook her head and continued sweeping the glass. She didn't want to get into trouble. She was afraid of losing her job. Maya went up the stairs with trembling, frightened hands. Something dark was beginning to weave itself around her. A trap. Then the grocery receipt disappeared. A silly thing, but significant. Ashley had sent her to buy diapers and formula from the pharmacy. She gave her a $100 bill and asked for the exact change with the receipt. Maya bought everything, put the ticket in her jacket pocket, returned to the house, and went straight up with the children. But when she went to give the accounts to Ashley that night, the receipt was no longer in her pocket. It had vanished. "And the receipt, Maya?" Ashley asked with that cold smile. "I need it for the house accounts, dear." "I had it in my jacket, ma'am. I swear," Maya said, searching. "Uh-huh." Ashley crossed her arms, her gaze hard. "Well, that's strange, isn't it? Because without a receipt, how do I know you didn't—" She didn't finish the sentence, but the insinuation hung in the air. "Spend the money on something else. Something for your mother. No, I would never. Here are the diapers, the formula, the change." "But there's no receipt," Ashley cut in. "And without a receipt, it's your word." Maya clenched her fists. She knew someone had taken it. The stains on the white living room rug appeared 3 days later. It was spilled orange juice, a sticky, bright puddle right in the path Maya used to get to the baby's room. The head housekeeper, a strict woman, found her cleaning it. "You again, Maya?" the woman said reproachfully. That's twice you've left a mess. Be more careful. It wasn't me. When I passed through here, there was nothing, I swear. Well, then who was it? A ghost, the woman scoffed. And so it continued, a slow torture, a drip feed of accusations. Broken plates that appeared near where Maya worked, wet towels thrown in the children's bathroom flooding it. Once they even found the refrigerator door open. All the food, spoiled milk meat, everything. And it always happened on Maya's shift when she was there. The other employees started to look at her strangely with distrust. They whispered when she passed. They answered her in monosyllables. Rosa didn't talk to her the same way anymore. She kept her distance. Ashley played her part perfectly, never accusing her directly, just dropping poisoned comments in front of David. Oh, it's so strange these things only happen when she's here, isn't it? Poor thing, she must be so tired with 2 jobs. That's why she's so distracted. The worst night, the one that changed everything, was when Leo got sick. Maya had prepared the bottle as always with extreme care, boiled water at the exact temperature, perfect measure of formula. She had checked the formula can. Everything seemed normal. Leo, who was always the biggest eater, drank half of it eagerly, but then he started making strange faces, wrinkling his little face, as if his stomach hurt, as if something were burning him. Suddenly he turned a terrifying grayish pale. His little eyes rolled back, his gaze lost, and his little body went completely limp, strengthless. No, 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 Maya cried, pulling him out of the crib in a rush. Panic rose in her throat, choking her. Leo, my love, stay with me, Leo! She shook him gently. She touched his forehead. It was burning a sudden fever. She smelled the bottle he had dropped and caught the same chemical scent, the scent from the little vial, but mixed with the milk, more subtle. Without a second thought, she ran to the kitchen with Leo in her arms. She dumped the milk down the sink, watching it disappear down the drain. She grabbed a new sealed can of formula from the pantry. She prepared another bottle in seconds, her hands shaking uncontrollably. She prayed to Ariana, to God, to anyone, that it wasn't too late. Leo started to react slowly. His eyes refocused. He drank the new milk without a problem, this time more calmly. After drinking it, he fell asleep in Maya's arms, breathing more peacefully, his color returning to normal. She stayed there all night, sitting in the rocking chair, watching him, not daring to let him go, not daring to close her eyes. She knew Ashley had gone too far. This was an attempt to... She didn't even want to think it. The next day, the trap closed on her. Ashley appeared in the baby's room, but she wasn't alone. She was accompanied by a man in a suit with a medical bag. His face was serious, his gaze inquisitive. Dr. Evans, the family's private physician. Ashley announced, her voice grave, as if at a funeral. He's here because I'm concerned about what happened last night with Leo. How did you know? Maya asked, feeling her mouth go dry. The cameras, dear, Ashley said, pointing to a tiny camera in the corner of the room. Maya had never noticed it. I saw everything. I saw you prepare the bottle, give it to Leo. I saw you watch him get sick and then dump it and make another. Why did you do that, Maya? What was in that milk? The accusation was clear, direct, in front of a witness. Because it smelled funny, ma'am. Something was wrong with that milk. I think it was contaminated, Maya said, her voice trembling. Wrong? Ashley's eyes widened with false surprise acting. But I bought that formula myself 2 days ago. It was perfectly sealed. It was perfect, unless... She paused dramatically, staring at her. Someone put something in it. Did you put something in it, Maya? No, I would never. I saved him, Maya cried desperately. Dr. Evans cleared his throat uncomfortably. Miss Rodriguez, did you prepare that bottle? Only you. Yes, but I didn't put anything bad in it, I swear on my life. And why did you throw it out? The doctor asked, his voice cold. If you suspected something was wrong, you should have kept it. You should have saved it so we could analyze it. That's the protocol." Maya froze. It was true. She hadn't thought of it. She had acted on pure instinct out of panic to save Leo, but now by dumping the milk she had destroyed the only proof. She had no way to prove the original formula was contaminated. "I just wanted him to get better. I wasn't thinking." "Of course you weren't thinking," Ashley said, her voice full of feigned pity. "Doctor, I don't want to accuse anyone without proof, but Maya has been acting very strangely lately. Things breaking, money disappearing. And now this." She turned to look at Maya, her eyes glistening as if she were about to cry. "Could it be that you're jealous, Maya? Does it bother you that I'm going to be their mother? Does it bother you that I have everything you'll never have? No, I would never hurt them. I love them," Maya shouted. "Then explain to me why Leo got sick. Explain it to me." Maya had no answer, or rather she did. But it was unbelievable that someone had contaminated the formula before she arrived, that this was all a trap to get rid of her. Dr. Evans checked on Leo, who was now fine and playing. Then he looked at Maya with a mixture of pity and contempt. "The child seems fine now, but I will recommend to Mr. Belmont that he be more careful about who he leaves in charge of the babies." When they left, Maya was left alone in the room, trembling. She hugged Leo carefully, feeling tears roll down her face. "I'm sorry, little one. I just wanted to take care of you. I'm so sorry." That night they fired her. David didn't see her. He sent Ashley to give her the news with an envelope of money. "David and I think this is too much for you, Maya. It's better for you to rest. Don't come back. You're fired." But the final humiliation would come days later at the party. The night of David and Ashley's engagement banquet, the Skyview Manor shone like a jewel. White lights hung from the trees. There was a huge tent. Waiters in white gloves served French champagne. All of Los Angeles high society was there. Politicians, businessmen, names you see in magazines. Ashley took the microphone in a dazzling gold dress. "Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us." Her voice was sweet, perfect, the ideal bride. "As you know, David and I are so happy." But she paused, her face filling with feigned sadness. "We've been through something terrible. We had to fire an employee, a humble girl, Maya, who seemed to have a good heart. But slowly we discovered things." A murmur went through the guests in the garden. "Broken objects, missing money, and the worst part," her voice broke convincingly. "She tried to hurt my son, Leo. We saw it on the cameras, and we want you to see the truth." A huge screen lit up next to the main table. It showed Maya, but it was a montage, a cruel edit. It showed Maya breaking the vase, not that it was already broken. It showed Maya putting money in her pocket, the money Ashley had given her. And the worst part, it showed Maya preparing Leo's bottle and adding something from a small vial, the unlabeled vial. That last scene was completely fake, a digital fabrication, but it was so good, so professional, that it looked real. The guests erupted in indignant murmurs. "How horrible! Someone should call the police!" someone shouted. Ashley raised her hands for calm, the perfect victim. "We won't press charges if she doesn't return. We just wanted you to know. You never know who you can trust these days." David was by her side, his gaze on the floor, pale. He said nothing. His silence was a condemnation from Maya, who was watching everything from the street because she had tried to return, and they wouldn't let her in. Maya stood outside the gate in the drizzle. She had come to plead, to ask to be heard, to be allowed to see the children. But the security guards had strict orders. "Get lost, miss. You're not wanted here," one told her. And then she heard Ashley's voice over the garden speakers. She heard the accusations, saw the horrified faces of the guests, and saw the fake video on the giant screen. A final stab. She was paralyzed. The world came crashing down on her. Not only had they fired her, they had publicly humiliated her, painted her as a thief, a poisoner. Tears of rage and helplessness burned her face. It was all over. She had lost. Ashley had won. She clenched her fists, turned, and started walking. She had no destination. She just wanted to flee from that house, from those people. She walked toward the bus stop with trembling legs, tears falling uncontrollably, soaking her blouse. She felt dirty, used, destroyed. She was about to turn the corner, ready to disappear into the night, when someone grabbed her arm, forcefully stopping her. Maya screamed in fear, but it was a familiar face. It was Rosa, the cook, agitated and out of breath. "Mija, wait," the woman said, looking around. She made sure no one from the house could see them. She reached into her apron pocket and pulled something out. A small red plastic object, a USB drive. "Take this quickly," she said urgently, placing it in her hand. "I saw things I shouldn't have, Mija. That woman is a demon. I followed her, recorded her with my phone. It's all here." "What is this, Rosa?" Maya asked, confused. "It's the truth. Don't let them do to those children what they did to you." The woman looked at her with an intensity Maya had never seen. "Don't let what happened to your sister happen to them." How do you know about Ariana?" Maya stammered. "Because I lost a child too, Mija. To negligence, to money." Rosa's eyes filled with old tears. "And I promised myself I would never stay silent again. Never again." She squeezed her hand tightly, giving her the courage she lacked. "Now go and use this. Get justice for those little angels." Rosa turned and ran back, disappearing through the service door before Maya could react. Maya stood there on the dark, wet street, the small red USB clutched in her fist like an anchor. She felt something inside her ignite again. A spark of hope, a flame of fury. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. The room in East LA had never felt so small. She arrived after 2 a.m., after 3 bus rides. Her mother was asleep, snoring softly on the other mattress. The power was still out. The dimness smelled of dampness and poverty. Maya collapsed onto her mattress without even taking off her shoes. She held the USB so tightly her nails dug into her palm. She wouldn't let it go. It was the only thing she had left, her only weapon. She couldn't sleep all night. The adrenaline was too much. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Leo's sick face, heard Max's cries, felt Sam's weight in her arms, and saw Ashley's triumphant smile at the party. "I trusted you with my children." St. David's words drilled into her. He had believed Ashley. Of course he had believed her. How could you not believe the elegant, educated, well-bred woman? How could you believe the waitress from East LA with the worn-out sneakers at 5 a.m.? She got up. There was no point in trying to sleep. Her mother was already awake, heating beans on a small camp stove. There was no gas, another accumulating debt. "What happened, Mija? I can see it on your face," her mother asked without turning around. Maya sat on the edge of the mattress, her head in her hands. "They fired me, Ma, and they humiliated me in front of everyone." "I knew it," her mother sighed, shaking her head sadly. "That job wasn't going to last. Rich people are like that. They use you and throw you away." "It wasn't just that, Ma," Maya said. "Horrible things are happening. There are 3 babies in danger and no one believes me. No one." Her mother looked at her for the first time that morning with pity. "Ay, Mija, just leave it. They're not your children. It's not your fight. You can't save everyone. You should know that by now. Like you couldn't save Ariana." The words hung in the air. Even though her mother didn't say them, Maya felt them like a stab. "I'm going out for a bit," she said, getting up abruptly. "Where you haven't even had breakfast." But Maya was already on her way out. She needed to see the truth. She needed to know what was on that USB. She ran to her neighbor's house, Mr. Henderson, an elderly man. He had an old computer he used to print flyers. "Mr. Henderson, can I borrow your computer?" "It's an emergency," she pleaded. The half-asleep man let her into his small living room. The laptop was painfully slow, but it turned on. That's all that mattered. Maya inserted the USB with trembling hands and waited. There was only one file, a video almost 2 hours long. She opened it. The quality wasn't great. It was from a cell phone, but it was clear. It was the baby's room from another angle. Not the corner camera, but a hidden one. Maya realized Rosa had recorded it from the teddy bear, the one she had found with the strange stitching. She hadn't found a camera, she had found Rosa's. She saw what happened when she wasn't there, when it was just Ashley. And what she saw chilled her blood and confirmed all her suspicions. Ashley taking the little vial of drops from her designer bag, putting drops in the bottles. 1, 2, 3 drops. Ashley opening the nightstand drawer and moving the papers, altering the records Maya had written. Ashley talking on the phone, pacing, while the babies cried. "I'm telling you, Cameron, everything is going according to plan," Ashley's voice said. "The little waitress is going to take the fall for everything. I have her right where I want her." Maya fast-forwarded the video, her heart pounding. More scenes. Ashley putting the unlabeled bottle in the bottom drawer. Ashley breaking the vase in the dining room and running out. Ashley taking the receipt from the pocket of Maya's jacket. It was all there. Every trap, every lie was recorded. But the worst came at the end, the definitive proof. Ashley sitting at the desk of David's late wife on a video call with a man in a suit, a lawyer. "Has he signed the Aspen papers yet?" the man asked. "Not yet," Ashley replied, "but he will. After the scandal with the employee, he'll be so scared he'll sign anything to protect the children." Ashley's smile in the video was hideous, full of triumph. "Then we get married, go on a 6-month honeymoon, and when we get back, the kids will be so used to the clinic that it'll be easy to convince him to leave them there permanently. Or send them to a boarding school in Europe, whatever's easier. I didn't marry David to change diapers, Cameron. I married him for the $300 million he has in the bank." The man on the screen laughed a complicit laugh. "And if he refuses to sign the Aspen papers?" he asked. "He won't refuse," Ashley said with absolute coldness. "Because I'm going to make him feel so guilty, so inadequate as a father, that he'll believe the best thing he can do for his children is to send them away from him. Trust me, I know how to manipulate him." The video ended there. The screen went black. Maya stared at her own reflection on the dark screen. She was trembling from head to toe. An icy fury coursed through her. It wasn't just malice, it wasn't just envy or convenience. It was a calculated, cold plan to steal a fortune, a plan to destroy a family, to get rid of 3 babies. And she, Maya held the proof in her hands, on that red USB drive. Now the question was what to do with it. Who could she show it to? If she went to the police, it would be complicated. They would say the video was stolen, recorded without permission, that she was a disgruntled, fired employee seeking revenge. If she went to David directly, Ashley would deny everything. She'd say it was fake, a montage, another lie from the crazy waitress. Ashley had money lawyer's power. Maya had nothing. She needed a plan, a good one that couldn't fail. She remembered the date. The party was on Friday. Today was Saturday. Monday. She had heard Ashley in the video. Monday at 10 a.m. All set. Signature. David was going to sign the institutionalization papers on Monday. She had less than 48 hours, just 2 days. 2 days to find a way to show the truth. 2 days to save Leo, Max, and Sam from that fate. Maya copied the video to the cloud in a new email account. She backed it up on another USB she borrowed from Mr. Henderson. She emailed it to herself. She couldn't risk losing it. She thanked Mr. Henderson and went out to the street. The morning sun hit her face, but she felt no warmth. She walked aimlessly through the streets of her neighborhood thinking. She passed by Mrs. Chelo's tamale stand. She passed by Mr. Rafa's little store just opening its shutters, through the alley where the neighborhood kids gathered to smoke. Everything seemed gray, ugly, a world without hope, without justice. She reached the old cemetery at the corner of the avenue. She hadn't been in months, not since her sister's anniversary. Ariana was buried there under a simple concrete cross. It scared her to go. It hurt too much to remember, but today she needed to be there. She needed to talk to her. She sat on the concrete ground next to the small grave. The makeshift headstone barely had faded plastic flowers. Guadalupe Ariana Rodriguez, 2 years old. Heaven's angel, it read. "Forgive me, little sister," Maya whispered, and the tears returned. "Forgive me for not being able to save you that day, for not having money for a taxi, for not screaming louder, for not being faster, smarter, something." The sun began to warm up the city awakening, with its noise-breaking buses, the baker's call music pouring from houses. "And now there are 3 other children, Ariana," Maya continued. "They're 3 little angels like you, and I won't be able to save them either because I'm nobody, because I have no money or power, because people like me never win against people like Ashley." She sat there crying silently for an hour, maybe 2, watching people pass by, walking to work, to school, all with their lives, their problems oblivious to her pain. She felt defeated, small, useless. Her mother was right. She couldn't save the world. She was about to leave, to give up, to accept her defeat, when she felt the original USB in her pocket, Rosa's USB. She took it out and looked at it. That little piece of red plastic, so small, so insignificant, yet so heavy. Rosa had risked her job, her livelihood, to give it to her. "I lost a child too. Don't stay silent." The cook's words echoed in her head. What if Ariana hadn't brought her here to cry? What if she had brought her here to remember why she was fighting? She shot to her feet, wiping her tears away with anger. She wasn't going to give up. No, not this time. She owed it to Ariana. She owed it to those 3 babies who trusted her. It no longer mattered if they believed her or not, if they put her in jail. She had to try. She had to show the truth. What if she just showed up at the house on Monday? If she arrived before the lawyer and caused a scene, Ashley would stop her. The guards wouldn't let her in. She needed help. But from whom, Rosa? That was too risky. She looked around at the plaza, the children playing. A mother chased her son, laughing. Another fed her baby in the shade of a tree. And Maya thought of Leo, Max, and Sam, of their little hands, of how they stopped crying just by feeling her near. They weren't her children. Her mother was right about that. But they needed her, and she couldn't abandon them. Even if it cost her everything, even if she had to face it alone, even if everyone thought she was crazy, a liar. She was going back on Monday morning to the Skyview Manor with the USB in her hand and the truth on her side. And this time, she would make sure David listened. She spent the rest of the weekend planning. It wasn't a perfect plan. It was a desperate one. She would arrive at 9:30, half an hour before the lawyer. She wouldn't go through the service door. She'd go to the main entrance. She would ring the bell and demand to see David Belmont. It didn't matter if they hit her or arrested her. She had to make them see that video. Monday dawned with a gray, leaden sky, threatening rain. Maya woke before dawn with her stomach in a knot. She had slept little, rehearsing in her head what she was going to say, how she would get in, what she would do if Ashley stopped her by force. She put on the simplest clothes she had, clean jeans, a white cotton blouse, her old sneakers, her armor. No makeup, no pretensions, just her. She would arrive as she was, Maya Rodriguez from East LA, with no important last name, no money, no power, but with the truth tucked into her pants pocket. Her mother watched her prepare in silence. She didn't ask questions. She knew the determination in her daughter's eyes was unbreakable. As Maya was about to leave, her mother grabbed her hand. "Be careful, mija," she said, her voice hoarse with worry. "I'll be fine, ma," Maya replied, trying to sound brave. "I'm not talking about that." Her calloused fingers tightened. "I'm talking about your heart. Don't let them break it again." Maya nodded with a lump in her throat and gave her a kiss. She stepped out into the gray street. The air was heavy and humid. The journey to Beverly Hills felt eternal. On the bus, she went over the plan, if you could call it that. Arrive at 9:30, ring the front doorbell, ask to speak to David, show the video. Simple, direct, terrifying. When she got off at the stop, it started to rain thick drops that soaked her hair and clothes in seconds. Just like the first night she came to that house. It was a sign. She didn't care. She kept walking, the USB safe in her pocket. The Skyview Manor looked just as imposing. The high walls, the cameras blinking like red eyes. Maya reached the main gate, the visitor's entrance. She took a deep breath and rang the bell, a strident sound that broke the silence. She waited. The rain ran down her face, mixing with her sweat. The gate opened. It was one of the guards who had thrown her out. The man recognized her instantly. His face hardened. "What are you doing here? We told you not to come back. Get lost." "I need to speak with Mr. Belmont. It's urgent," she said. "The boss is busy. Leave before I call the police." The guard tried to close the heavy wooden gate, but Maya stuck her foot in the way, a gesture of pure audacity. "I'm not leaving," she said in a firm voice that didn't sound like hers. "You can drag me out if you want, but I will scream. I will make a scene and all the neighbors will come out. Is that what you want? More press, more scandal." The guard hesitated. The threat of more press stopped him. And in that pause, Maya heard something that broke her heart. The crying. The desperate crying of the babies. Leo, Max, and Sam crying at the same time in anguish. It came from upstairs, from the room with the open windows. That crying pierced the air, the rain, the walls. It reached the living room where David was sitting. He was on the leather sofa with the institutionalization papers. The lawyer Cameron had already arrived, smiling. Dr. Evans was also there as a medical witness. And Ashley, impeccable, in a cream-colored suit, waited for the moment of the signature, the moment of her victory. But when David heard that cry, he looked up. Something in his face changed. The mask of the controlled widower fell away. "Why are they crying like that?" he asked, his voice tense. "They're just being fussy, my love," Ashley said lightly, dismissing it. "You know how babies are always crying about something." "They've been crying like that for 3 days," David said, standing up. Since Maya left." He didn't say it, but he thought it. At that moment, the guard entered the living room, pale. "Mr. Belmont, excuse the interruption, but Miss Maya Rodriguez is outside. She insists on speaking with you." Ashley went pale, her eyes flashing with fury. "What? How dare she come back? Get her out of here! Have someone call the police right now!" she screamed. But David raised a hand for silence. "Wait," he said to Ashley, his voice strangely calm. David, no, it's a trap. That girl is obsessed. She's come to cause trouble, to ruin everything. She moved closer to him, but the baby's cries grew louder, more piercing, as if they knew she was there, as if they were calling for her. Leo was screaming with all his might, a cry for help. Max was choking on sobs. Sam was crying until he was breathless. And in that instant, something inside David finally broke. All the doubt, all the fear, all the signs he had ignored it all exploded at once. His denial shattered. "Let her in," David ordered, looking at the guard. "You can't be serious," Ashley shouted, losing her composure. "I said let her in," he repeated with terrifying firmness. "I want to hear what she has to say. Now!" The guard left and returned with Maya. She entered the living room, soaked, trembling from cold and nerves, but her gaze was fixed, determined, fearless. Behind her came Rosa, who had come out of the kitchen. Ashley shot her a withering look. "This is a circus." "You too!" "No," Maya said with a clear voice. "This is the truth." She stood there dripping water onto the Persian rug in front of all those elegant people, the lawyer, the doctor, Ashley, with her diamonds, David, with his broken gaze, and above the incessant crying of the 3 babies. "I have something you all need to see," Maya said, pulling the red USB from her pants pocket. "David, please," Ashley pleaded. "She's a fired employee. She wants revenge. This is ridiculous. Don't watch that." "If it's so ridiculous, why are you so afraid, Ashley?" Maya asked, looking her directly in the eye, holding her gaze. The silence that followed was heavy, dense, unbearable. David pointed to the plasma TV in the living room. "Play it," he said to Maya, his voice a hoarse whisper. Ashley tried to stop him. "Love, think about it. It could be anything." "Then you shouldn't have a problem with us watching it," he said. Maya connected the USB to the TV's port with trembling hands. The giant screen lit up, and Rosa's video began to play. Everyone in the room saw the raw, unedited truth. They saw Ashley alone in the room, putting drops in the bottles, humming a tune as she drugged the babies. They saw Ashley altering the records in the notebook. They saw Ashley breaking the vase and stealing the receipt from the jacket. Dr. Evans went pale, recognizing the vial. The lawyer Cameron loosened his tie nervously. Rosa crossed herself, crying silently. But the worst part came with the video call, Ashley's voice clear as day. "I married him for the $300 million. Make him feel so guilty he'll believe the best thing is to send them away." The exact words in her voice, on her face. There was no doubt. David collapsed onto the sofa. His whole body was shaking. He stared at the screen as if he couldn't believe what he was seeing, as if his whole world, his second chance, was crumbling. Ashley tried to speak, her voice a high-pitched shriek. That's edited. It's fake. She fabricated it. That's not me," she screamed desperately. "It's your voice," David whispered, without looking at her. "It's your face, your words." "They're framing me, all of you," Ashley screamed. "Cameron, tell them this is illegal. They can't use a stolen video." The lawyer stood up, slowly pale. "Ashley, were you really planning to permanently institutionalize those children?" "Of course not." "Well, yes, but it was for their own good." "And the $300 million?" asked Dr. Evans. "You people don't understand. He's an incompetent father. I was just—" But there was no fixing it. The mask had fallen. David stood up. His whole body was trembling, but his eyes were burning. He walked to the table where the institutionalization papers lay, grabbed them with both hands, and ripped them in half. And then again and again, until they were confetti. He took off the engagement ring and threw it at Ashley. "Get out of my house," he said, his voice pure ice. "David, wait, my love. We can talk. I can explain." "I said get out of my house, now!" he roared. Ashley tried to approach him, but he stepped back in disgust. "It was all a lie," David said, his voice broken. "The smiles, the sweet words, the love for my children, all of it." "I loved you," Ashley lied desperately. "No," he said. "You loved my money and you were willing to do anything for it." He turned to the guards who were watching, stunned. "Escort Miss Vance off the property. Make sure she takes all of her things. If she comes back, call the police." Ashley screamed, she threatened, she said she had lawyers, and they would all regret this, but no one listened. The guards dragged her out by force. The door closed, and a deafening silence fell over the room. Well, almost. Upstairs, the babies were still crying, calling. David looked at Maya. His eyes were red, his face destroyed. "Forgive me," he said, his voice broken. "Please forgive me." And he fell to his knees right there, crying like a child. Maya didn't know what to do. The millionaire was on his knees, broken. Rosa came over and put a hand on his shoulder. Maya knelt beside David without touching him. "The children," she said softly. "The children need you." David looked up, his eyes full of guilt. Can you go up to them, please? I don't know what to do." Maya nodded. She ran up the stairs 2 at a time, opened the door, and saw them writhing in their cribs. "Shh, my loves. I'm here now," she whispered. She picked up Leo, then Max, and cradled Sam. And just like the first night, they calmed down, sighed, and clung to her. 3 months passed. The Skyview Manor was a different place. Ashley was facing charges for fraud and child endangerment. The lawyer Cameron was also under investigation. The cold mansion had filled with laughter and toys. David had fired half the staff, keeping only Rosa, and he asked Maya to stay. Not as an employee, he told her, but as something more. "I want you to stay, Maya, as their official guardian with a contract and a room here so you don't have to commute, and a fair salary triple what you were making." Maya accepted, but not for the money. For them. She moved into a room next to the babies. She brought her mother to live with her in a guest room. Elena couldn't believe it, but she watched over Maya like a lioness. David changed. He stopped wearing suits at home. He learned to change diapers, to prepare bottles to sing. He spent hours on the floor playing with his children. And at night, when the children were asleep, he would talk to Maya. They talked about everything about Ariana, about his late wife Caroline, about guilt, fear, and loneliness. They were healing together without even realizing it. One day, David took her to the garden where the tent had been. "I'm going to build something here," he said, showing her some blueprints. "A coffee shop. It'll be called the Skyview Remembrance. And I want you to be the manager. And I want us to hire people from East LA. Maya cried. It was a dream she had never dared to have. The coffee shop was built, and it was a success. It provided jobs for single mothers, for young people who wanted to study. And the surprising happy ending wasn't a wedding. It wasn't a passionate kiss in the rain. Not yet. It was a Sunday afternoon a year later. Maya, David, and the 3 toddlers who were now walking were in the garden, all 5 of them having a picnic. Leo ran to Maya and hugged her. "Mama!" he shouted. "Mama!" repeated Max and Sam, hugging her legs. David came closer and looked at her with a quiet, deep love. "They called you Mama," he whispered with tears in his eyes. "They said Maya," she corrected, blushing but happy. "I heard Mama," he said, taking her hand. "Maya, thank you for saving them, for saving me." "We found our miracle," she said, squeezing his hand. And in that house, which was once a luxurious prison, They found